Welcome back. This is the story India Today broke first. Amid the standoff with China, Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane is in Ladakh today for a two-day visit. Army Chief will take stock of the troop deployment across northern and southern bank of Pangong Tso, which remember now is the most recent flashpoint between India and China. Sources say that he will meet officers who have been taking part in operations to preempt Chinese soldiers in some of the strategic heights on Indian territory. Yesterday, Indian Air Force Chief R.K. Bhadoria also had visited the premier air base in eastern sector of Ladakh. He reviewed level of operational preparedness and capability enhancement. Remember, the IAF is ensuring any preemptive measure, if needs to be taken, is on alert. Indian Army, meanwhile, has enhanced deployment in sensitive zones. This comes day after Indian Armed Forces secured the Pangong North Finger 4 ridgeline, which gives them now a big advantage over the Chinese troops on the other side. All right, that's the big news coming in. So, of course, the Army Chief already visiting there. Also, not just, of course, to enhance deployment, but boost the morale of the brave men who've been there. Remember, this is not the first time that the standoff has taken place. And though it appeared that the situation had normalized, but now, kilometers away from the earlier standpoint, now there is a fresh standoff that has emerged. We'll continue to get you updates as well, but not just the Army Chief, even the Air Chief also taking stock of the situation. So it was today morning when India Today first broke that Army Chief had in fact reached Ladakh and one, of course, to speak and boost morale of the forces at the LAC, but also to take stock of the situation. But remember, this time, very different for the Army. Earlier, there have been any sort of further escalation that has been avoided, but clearly the forces this time have been given a free hand, even though the situation for now remains tense at the border. But at least for now, both the Army Chief and the Air Chief as well there to take stock of the situation. All right, just listen in now first to our senior editor Shiv Aroor, who was, remember, the first with the news break as well on the Army Chief arriving in Ladakh. Take a look at what's been happening since morning.
Shiv, the Army Chief himself arrives in Ladakh. He's taking stock of the situation even as the tensions between the two sides intensifies.
Very important visit that's been undertaken that we're breaking first and exclusive here on India Today, Nabila, is that the Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane has arrived early this morning in Ladakh. We don't know how long the visit is going to last, but it comes at a very, very sensitive time. It's just a couple of days after the Indian Army has mounted some very strong action to thwart Chinese attempts at intrusions in areas both on the south bank and the north bank of the Pangong Tso. There have been some readjustments of positions, as the Army calls it, on the north bank, where there is a very difficult situation. But it is the south bank where things are most delicate right now, because the Indian Army has mounted, actions where they've basically completely preempted and thwarted the Chinese army from crossing the line of actual control and taking over certain strategic heights, as a result of which now the Indian Army dominates that entire area. And this was a place where the Chinese, have had designs for a very long time. They had wanted to come in and try and change some facts on the ground. The Indian Army was in receipt of information that this was going to happen, and they moved in and are now fully dominant in that area. This is something that has angered the Chinese endlessly, and therefore the Army Chief arriving in Ladakh, we can confirm that he landed in Ladakh earlier this morning, and we won't be putting out any information about whether he will be visiting any operational areas, but we do know that he is receiving full briefings from the operational commanders. He will likely be meeting some troops as well. But at this time, the Army Chief, he's the boss of the Army, there with the Army is also a huge morale boost, because this is an operational situation, Nabila. This is a time when the Army is in war readiness. It faces an enemy which is extremely aggressive, which, wants to talk, at the same time conduct all of these hostile maneuvers and aggressive, provocative actions on the ground. it is not an exaggeration to say that this is a warlike situation. There is the very real possibility of things escalating, at very, very short notice. And therefore, the army chief being there not only to take stock of the situation, but also as the leader of the army to boost morale, to provide support, to provide advice, and basically to speak to his troops and show leadership on the ground is extremely important. So at that level, it's not surprising at all that the army chief is there. It's a very quiet visit. Obviously, it hasn't been publicized. We've gotten to know because, of course, we are India Today. But the army chief being there, very, very significant at this time.
That was Shiv Aroor breaking the news first here on India Today. I'm now going across directly to Ladakh, to the ground, to understand the situation because our defense editor Abhishek Bhalla is reporting from Leh. Abhishek, the fact that the Indian Air Force chief is reviewing the eastern bases, the army chief is also there, may sound alarming to the viewers. But you tell us, how was the situation on ground? What precisely has happened since today morning? Over to you, Abhishek.
Well, it's a multi-pronged approach by all the forces, and we've been seeing this for the last 3-4 months now. The standoff started early May. The Air Force had swung into action back then. The Army Chief has visited Ladakh on a couple of occasions earlier as well. Not really surprising that after the fresh escalations, he's back here again on a 2-day visit. He'll be visiting some of the forward areas. That's been confirmed to us. And most importantly, he will get a sense of what our preparedness is, not just on the operation side, but also what is very crucial now is how does India go forward when it comes to negotiations with a very stubborn Chinese PLA, because till now the PLA was calling the shots when it came to these meetings. But now we have a little different situation. There is a brigade commander level meet underway for the 4th consecutive day today. And with the new developments where the Indian Army is dominating some crucial heights at the southern bank of the Pangong Lake, and also in the last couple of days has dominated heights at the northern bank itself as a counter to the Chinese PLA, who are still sitting on the ridgeline of Finger 4. It's very important from here onwards what the future strategy is, not just in terms of operations, but also negotiations.
So just a quick question. Are we perhaps expecting that there could be more commander level talks that you've been telling us? Because for now it seems it's inconclusive. Abhishek.
Well, one can easily say that whatever dialogue has happened, it's hit a dead end, because there were 5 levels of Corps Commander level talks. The focus of those talks was disengagement, but nothing transpired on the ground. In fact, we had a situation where things kept getting aggravated, and that's what led to the fresh escalation on August 29th. And since then, the situation has been extremely volatile, not just around Pangong, but it's now scattered in different areas in eastern Ladakh.
Thank you so much. Abhishek Bhalla has been tracking all the latest from Ladakh. I'll come back to you shortly, Abhishek. Thank you for getting us all the ground reports.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.